Alright, VC, hey there. It is Seeking a Thread time. Story time. With Dom. Not really. Or yes and no. It's a beautiful day out here. Monday. End of April. And I wanted to, I don't think it's too late to do some RSD. I was inspired by a lot of the post-RSD talk. I always liked sort of the sort of diagnostic or the sort of like, internal check about sort of thoughts about RSD and successes, failures, the title, controversy, what people like, what people hate. I always like it. Record Store Day I go back to the very beginning of that. The Jason Roxas and Chris Groove Seeker had a guest, Joel. I really enjoyed their discussion. Joel brought up a lot of good thoughts on that stream that was on Jason Roxas' channel. I'll link to that. He's also been in it for a long time. And it got me thinking about some of the things I wanted to respond and sort of like have my own take on it. Just because, I do go back to the very first one, 2008. 2008. And at that time I was working at Warner Music Group. I've talked about this story before. Record Store Day was brand new. There were 5 titles. Vampire Weekend, Black Keys, I think Death Cab for Cutie, a couple, REM. And I believe they all came from the Warner Music Group, which is where I worked. I worked in distribution for WIA. And I set up Regina Spektor doing an in-store, doing a performance at Soundfix Records in Brooklyn. I've talked about this story. There's still video of me. You can see me sort of directing traffic at the event. Now, at this point, Regina Spektor was certainly known, but definitely is not at the same level she is now. And it was a huge, like her fan base, though, was growing, and so the place was packed. And it was a really great performance, and the stores were flooded. I remember other music being flooded, Kim's being flooded with customers, that is. And so 2008 was my first year. I did that as part of the record industry for a couple of years, and I got laid off. Then I started going to. I was there every one. Mostly, yes, I was doing flipping for about 2 years, maybe 2010, 2011, maybe even 2012. And then I, at that point, was working for Kim's again, or was actually working for Kim's and helping them with Record Store Day. And then I moved up here. And since like 2014, I've been doing Record Store Day for Angry Mom. Until this year, I did not do it. More to come on that. But I didn't even get up early or anything. And I never did get up early to wait in line because, when you work at a store, that's one of the perks on Record Store Day. If you care, that is, you get access to hold stuff. You just do. I don't know if that's a secret, but if you work at a store and our staff, you get access. So that, if I wanted any titles over the past 10 years, I always, as long as Angry Mom got them, I would have access to it. But to me, it was having access to the good used records that would get put out on Record Store Day. Not this year, though. This year I got up and went over to Angry Mom like around 11, I think 10 or 11. And I'll show you what I got. There was kind of 1 or 2 titles that I did get. But flipping. I know everyone likes to talk about flipping. I assume most people are okay with it, although it sounds like there's still plenty of hate for it. I personally have no issue with flipping. In fact, I think it's great. Or not even great. I wouldn't say I think it's great. I would just say I think it's just part of the ecosystem. In the same way that we all go out there looking for dollar records to score on, to either flip on, to either trade in for cash for something we really want, or just to sort of have our, for ourselves, of course. We all flip records one way or another, when if you get lucky to find bargain bin records for double, triple figures, either you like it or you flip it. You might trade it to a record store, but we all do it. It's part of the ecosystem. I think the problem is, and I don't think this is really a thing anymore, is when like Ticketmaster and StubHub, these StubHub getting access to all the early tickets and taking a giant quantity of them. That's a problem. Record Store Day, most of the time the people who do this for flipping, they get to pick one title just like everyone else, and then they got to go and hustle And these days, flipping is not like what it was. When I was doing it, it was much more lucrative, I will say. Because now so many people don't even bother with the higher prices on record store day, because they know the next day they can find most of what they want for retail price. So yes, there's still flipping happening. I'm sure there were people flipping the stupid whatever the fuck it was, the Wicked. I don't even know I think Angry Mom might have gotten one. I don't even know. But yeah, you know what? You got up early to wait in line to get it. And you know what? It is a fan piece. It is sort of a bullshit product in a way. I'm sure some fans want that. But the hustle's there. If you got the hustle, you deserve to make the money off it. That's the way I see it. If you sat up there for 2 days straight in line to get the damn Wicked soundtrack and then you got to flip it, hey, that's your hustle. And I think hustle's part of this. This is part of capitalism. We live in a capitalist society, whether we like it or not. So just don't do it. Don't buy those records, people. I know most of the people I'm talking to either don't care about record store day, would never buy anything at a higher priced amount, or just would wait. So, but yeah, don't give in to that. If there's something you desperately want, I almost guarantee you'll be able to get it for the right price with record store day stuff. Those prices come way down. They just do. Even on the ones that I've gotten caught in it. I remember the Dirty Three Oceans songs from, 4 years ago, something like that. It was mainly in the UK. I ended up buying it from someone in the UK. I ended up getting it for a decent price, but if I waited, I would have gotten it here in the US. I ended up seeing it later on for the going price in the US. I ended up getting it for like a little over retail, but from England or whatever, so that wasn't great. So don't fall prey. Like, the FOMO thing, don't ignore that shit. You don't need to you don't need to go by the flipper, you don't need to pay flippers. And even if you think you really want it, the majority of this stuff, the lion's share of RSD titles, it's fan-only stuff, it's hardcore, or hardcore fan stuff. It's like, you probably don't need it. Even when I don't even think I need it anymore. Yeah, there's certainly problems with the way they allocate titles. I don't think, from my history in doing it and being a part of Record Store Day from an insider point of view, from working at a record label, a distribution company. Now, it might be different now, but I want to say I bet they're paying a lot less attention to it than you think, in terms of, is this store getting enough? Is this store getting enough? Now, part of it is on the onus of the Record Store Day people, but they don't work for the labels. They're their own entity. I don't know how much access they have to what stores get what. And the labels, distributors, are so short-staffed, I really think they're not paying as much attention to you think, especially because they don't make that much money on this stuff. They just don't. Same like record stores. They don't make that much money on this. You make like 30%, 40% if you're lucky, margin. Your strength relies on record store days if you hopefully sell out of most of the exclusives and you move other things. Like, that's obviously what the point is. So I just don't think the labels are paying as close attention to how many they should make. We only made 1,800 Wicked soundtracks. Probably might have been one person like, hey, how many do you think we should make? And like, yeah, 1,800. That seems good. This thing's been out. I just don't think there's a ton of thought going into it. But I ultimately really like Record Store Day. In fact, I love it. I've always loved being in the stores on that day. I have a lot of fond memories to the first few, especially working with Warner, going to the stores and just seeing them jammed. At that point, 2008, it was just the beginning, the first few years, a year or two into the vinyl resurgence. And to see like other music with people overflowing out of it. Now, other music was always always did well. It was very small. But seeing all these other stores that weren't used to that traffic overflowing with people was awesome. It just was. And I still like seeing that. Even this year, it's always good seeing like all this excitement of people coming in looking for things, and really, you know, with a lot of excitement behind them. So I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy people sort of supporting and being in record stores and showing us all that they're important, as I know, as you all know. But for even the casual people to sort of pay attention that day means something. I don't expect there to be, you know, I don't expect everyone who buys records to be an insane person like me. So I do have a lot of memories tied up in it. Yeah, I still have a fair amount of exclusives in the collection. There's only a few that I particularly pay a lot of close attention to, like I replay. But yeah, it's still something I enjoy. Yeah, I guess that's mainly what I wanted to say about Record Store Day. So yeah, I was at Angry Mom to see a few of the performances, including a duo of 12 and 13-year-olds doing this thing called Christmas Island Strangler. I'm not going to put video in there because they're minors. I don't really know that I should be showing them. But they're essentially doing like craft work, like a synth duo. It's pretty sweet. So I saw them perform. I talked with my buddies at Angry Mom. And I did buy a few records. I'll show you the RSD exclusives I got. But this is what we're listening to. This is a Kora LP, Mass Hymns from the Monastery of Krumosa, Senegal. So Senegalese Kora. On the MHS, Music Heritage Society. Cheap. Like $7 record. One of these things that's a no-brainer for me. Easy. So we're playing that right now. I've listened to this a couple of times. I grabbed this. This is going to go to Steve Davis in the UK. Mountainscapes. I know he's looking for this. I saw that in the Den Bosch video with him and Stunty. This one I see here all the time. I actually need a copy, but I'll get one at some point. This was also $7. This is a US ECM. So I grabbed that. Here's one I've been looking for a long time, actually. And it was in the new arrivals at Angry Mom. And one I just wanted to find in store, and I did. And a lot of people will know this one. It's the Garvey's Ghost dub LP. A Burning Spear, of course. I don't care for the standard album, but I love this dub version. This is on the Mango label. I believe it's an early repress. But for the price of $30, this definitely has gone up. $35, I think. I was able to take this home. This is from the new arrivals. It was put out that day. Great dub versions of the songs. This Dewey Redman. This is certainly on the free jazz sort of tip. And this is, what's this title again? The Ear of the Behearer. Not the most great title. But fiery music. We have, who do we got? Ted Daniel. You don't see a lot of Ted Daniel appearances on flugel and trumpet anymore. Danny Johnson, Cerrone, and Jane Robertson. There they are. This is on, this is Impulse, right? Yeah. These labels. The old black neon labels. There's Dewey. This was like $15. Grab that. This was awesome. I didn't know this Chikai, but I decided to get it because I've never seen it. And you can be sure most of these copies will be in Europe. This is the John Chikai group with, it's a quartet technically, but we've got John Chikai, Thomas Durst, Christian Kuntner, and Timo Flieg. And Chikai, the Dutch player here, on alto and tenor. This is on Black Saint. This is late 80s. This was excellent. Really love this, especially that first cut. Frisk Maglines. Yeah, this was really good. Really good. I enjoyed this quite a bit. And that was what I got from the new arrivals. The Record Store Day record, these were there when I got there. Didn't have to call any special favor. Put these aside in advance, but I did decide to get this archival release of the this is the Ngozi family with Chrissy Zebitembo. Dylan showed his original that exists only as a record, no sleeve. So I was intrigued with this because this is the first commercial release with this cover. This is a newly designed cover for the record. It's originally from 76 or 77, which is what most of the Zamrock was from, 74 to 77. So this album was a scarce record. It barely existed, and if it did, you found it as a record only, which is what Dylan has showed. On Now Again. I don't know that I needed this. I do love the Ngozi family and the Chrissy Zebitembo. And Zamrock is one of those few genres that I've just decided I am not really interested in originals, except for one, which is now here. So I do have one original Zamrock I'll show at some point, but mostly I don't want to collect those. I just don't want to pay a premium for rough, beat up records. I understand it; it's an artifact, but for me personally, I just can't see it as, unless I get it for a really good deal. I have a hard time ponying up top dollar for that stuff. So, yeah, that's where I stand with Zamrock. And then the other, what I got, and it is not here, because, well, I flipped it. Sorry to tell you, I did. I flipped Zifozam. And I did get it with the intention of either keeping it or selling it at the price I paid to someone in the VC. Talked with a few people, nobody needed it. I'm sure I probably missed someone, but I kept it for a couple days. I was like, maybe I'll just keep it. And then I was like, I saw what it was going for. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sell it. So I sold it for about 2 times what I paid for it. Like $80, $75-$80. Full disclosure. It's selling probably for more now, so I could have put it for more, but I just wanted to move it. What did I do with that? I sent it right to Lance. Permanent Records. Lance. I bought 2 Popol Vuh records, which I was happy to get. So that money went right back to a record store, folks, okay? That's a lot of time what flippers are doing, is they're just using that money to further their habit, to pad their budget to just buy more records. That's it. It's just going back into the ecosystem. Back into the community, the vinyl community. But yeah, I love Ezifozam. So, but I have this original. I bought this somewhere around 8-10 years ago now at the Ithaca book sale. They have a collector's corner and they had this for $40. I snapped it. And this is not the 90s reissue. This is the original 1973 issue. I'm not sure why it was $40. Maybe they thought it was the 90s reissue, but I've double checked it many times. The new Kevin Gray cut probably sounds awesome. But, you all know, and if you've been paying attention to this channel, I'm selling a lot of my reissues. So I was like, why am I buying this? I mean, I was curious to see if it would sound better than this, and I wanted to see what this Strata East sort of campaign is going to be like. But I just like, you know what? I don't need to keep this one. I'll check out some of the other ones that are going to come out as non-Record Store Day titles. And I played this, my 1973 original. So, yeah, I hate to break it to everyone. Hope you're not gonna unsub me, but I'm transparent. If you don't know, if you've met me, you hopefully understand that. I'm very transparent about things I do, sort of the way I collect. It's just how it is for me. The other one I did get, I got after the fact. I got it on Sunday, and Angry Mom did not get any of these. I immediately regretted it because I could have. Again, the copy, I bought this at retail price, and then in the next few days, it was selling for like $30 less. And I went for it on Sunday because I'm like, this thing might be scarce. This one actually might go up in value. See, even I was wrong, because even within a few days, the prices on Discogs had dropped. But I did support a record store, and yes, it was the Ingroove. And they had multiple copies of the Sun Ra, Nuit de Fondation, Mate. Nuit de la Fondation, Mate. And this is the full sessions that were released on the Sarava, right? Sarava? Am I have that right? Apparently, it's Volume 1 and Volume 2. Well, Dave, I think you said that's not actually even full. But I don't have those originals, and so I decided I would get this. I do have the Egypt box set that came out for Record Store Day. That one I got. Oh, that one might have been one that one I think I was able to keep to a decent price. I've never really overpaid for anything on Record Store Day. But I've heard about nightmare issues about this title. With Dave had a problem. Apparently there've been a lot of warped records. My set looks great. I'm not going to take it out, but I looked at every single record because of these issues I heard floating around. And mine looks great. I haven't played any of it yet. Definitive box documenting Sun Ra's historic 1970 concerts at the Fondation Mate Gallery in St. Paul de Vence. Triple 2 gatefold 3 LP sets. 20-page oversized booklet. Replica of the original Nuit de la Fondation Mate Festival program. Anyway, I got this from the Ingroove. Now, I immediately regretted it within a day. Ingroove does not offer refunds or cancellations on his RSD titles because I wanted to. I was like, I don't need this. But I have it. I'll probably play this sparingly, but like the Live in Egypt, I don't think I've played all of, and that's just the function of box sets for me. So yeah, but it's okay. I didn't overpay for it. I paid list price, which is like $145, $150, I think it was. I think you could get this as low. When I was checking Discogs, it was down to like 110, 120. I don't know where it's at right now, but still a beautiful set. So here it is. So that was my record store day from 2 weeks ago. I also want to go over the Ithaca Record Fair. It happens twice a year here in Ithaca. It's now moved to the Downtown Conference Center, a brand new building right in the heart of Ithaca. And it's mainly the same kind of sellers. A lot of these sellers do end up at WFMU, but I usually find stuff. There's probably a good 30 dealers there. Not huge by any stretch, but definitely some good quality stuff. A lot of stuff you don't even need to bother with. And I did find 6 records, 3 of which are coming from 2 brothers. One of them played in the band Spiral Jetty. Jonathan Reynolds, drummer, I believe, right? If you guys are watching this. So they saw my video, and every time I see them, we talk for a bit. They were at WFMU, and they always have a really interesting mix of stuff. Originals, reissues, all kinds of things. So I'll show you what I grabbed from them. I had pulled 5 records apart, but I ended up getting 3. This is one, Michael Yonkers I didn't have. This is the original of Michael Lee Yonkers. Kind of him trying to be a country guy, but coming up way messed up. There he is with the forklift. This is how he got injured and made all that money to fuel a home recording unit. This is from 1974 on the Michael Yonkers Productions private label, essentially. This was about $25 after they give me a nice discount. There's only a couple of Yonkers I need from this label. He's an interesting guy. I think most people know who he is or have checked him out. But I think he's sort of misunderstood. But these 70s records are really interesting. They're not all amazing, maybe a little hit or miss at times, but interesting, and I really enjoy where he's coming from on these. Also from the brothers Spiral Jetty, I got this. I was not looking for this, but decided to go for it. This is Les Sauterelles, the Swiss psychedelic group. This is a little more, and I knew going into it that it would be a little more beat, a little more R&B infused with psychedelic flourishes, as you can see by this cover. This is the French pressing, which is not listed with a photo in Discogs. French original. Not looking for this and not up there for me for psychedelic music, but I couldn't resist a French original of this from 1968 here in Ithaca on the Decca label. It's actually better than I was thinking it would be, but it wasn't the record I thought I would want. There was one I knew by the Les Sauterelles that was kind of the one I would be looking for, or it was one that had the most stuff on it that I wanted, and this wasn't it. But I'm getting it. I'm getting in the weeds. So yeah, happy to have got this for what I got it for. Totally cool with it. It should stay in the collection. It should. We'll see. But cool, very cool. And a Flying Nun original. And I got a lot more to talk about Flying Nun in 2025. I'll just say that much. There's more to come. This is the Verlaines. This is a 12-inch single. Only 2 tracks, but I collect... It does have the insert. I collect the early Flying Nun period up until about 86, 87. If it's a 45 RPM 12-inch record and it has the custom labels and not the Flying Nun pink and yellow reissues, I'm almost entirely into it. I am kind of collecting those, even if they're not great. I want custom 80s 12-inch 45 RPM singles from Flying Nun, and the 7-inch singles too. So that's what this was, and again, just to see this here in Ithaca and not in New Zealand, This is the Doomsday New Kind of Hero Verlaines. Not one of my top tier Flying Nun bands, but enjoyable for sure. So those are the 3 I got from Brothers Jetty. Only one of them was in the Spiral Jetty. This I got from the guy who hosts the fair, Jack, who's a good friend, a friend of mine. If you know his booth. If you go to any of the New York State upstate fairs, he's the one that's like front and center. And Jack's prices can be aggressive; they can be high, but he's so willing to offer deals. And I love this band. Equals, an R&B sort of bit of a reggae influence, mostly known for having Mr. Eddie Grant. I think this is Eddie Grant sitting down, who of course would have Electric Avenue, that hit. And he's the songwriter on most of these songs, except for they did. I thought they did a Dylan cover. Didn't they do a Dylan? Yeah, they do. I thought they do a Dylan cover on this. I could have sworn they did. Huh. Anyway, could have sworn they did. It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. But great R&B, sort of like rock and roll. It's from '68 on the President label in the U.S. This was an English group. This is still in the Shrinky. We'll leave it for now. I like it. I have a few Eagles records. And then the next 2, one was an upgrade. I got an upgrade copy of Farewell Aldebaran by Jerry Yester and Judy Henske on the Bizarre Straight label. Another sort of spotty, but when the good songs on this are fucking awesome. Snowblind is the one everyone knows, the first track. And there's a few more really interesting ones, and then a few others that are okay. And this is my downgrade if anyone needs a copy. This one is a downgrade. It's clean. It's just this. I really don't like these deep corner cuts. That's a pet peeve for me. But if you want a nice copy with a vinyl and this sleeve, I'm selling this, so get in touch. This is my downgrade. That's from '69, I think. Good psych folk record. Judy Henske came from the sort of East Village folk scene, definitely sort of that vibe, and of course, like everyone else, she got turned on. And this one, a Folkways, Sounds of Insects. Not one I wanted to pay a lot for, and this one cost me about 40 beans. There's beat up copies going for a little bit less, but this is a nice crispy copy, very clean. Yes, it is the Sound of Insects. The original price tag on there. It's got the insert here. A lot of times with Folkways you do find the inserts, and this is cool. Who's it recorded by? A.T. Gaul, Gaul. You gotta love the Folkways sleeves and the thick, the thick stock and everything. And of course it's got the cardboard insert. The date on this one, this is a white label, 1960. Of course there were no promos, white label promos with Folkways. They just had different label designs, whether it was Ethnic Folkways or Folkways itself or Ash. What a great label. Just doing the Lord's work, as they say. So that's the last thing I found. I found those 2 from a different dealer. So I only bought from like 3 or 4 dealers. But successful, I'd say. And yeah, that's it. I wanted to report on Record Store Day and the Ithaca Record Fair and tell you what's been going on. I got more to come. Another vinyl absorption coming up very soon. Some artist tributes, artist appreciations. And yeah, I'll be here. I'll be around. Get in touch. Hope everyone's well and enjoying the spring. See ya.